Welcome to Tell It Like It Is, the show where my guests get to share their lives and opinions however they see fit. Today's guest is UFC legend and Hall of Famer Urijah Faber. Man, thank you so much for coming on today.
My pleasure, man. Thanks for having me. What's up, guys? Sorry, I just got done training. I didn't have an extra shirt. I hope you understand.
That's all right. You're fully into it, so I get it. So I want to get into Urijah, the fighter, a little later, but I want to first talk about Urijah, the person, because everyone who meets you just talks about, what a genuine, kind-hearted person you are. How do you separate that killer mentality in the cage to just walking around every day?
I think the biggest thing is understanding the mindset. My mindset as a competitor and as a human being is, I'm not one to get, the short end of the stick. And I just have that internally where I'm not going to have someone that's going to beat me up or, pick on me or take something of mine. And that carries over into dedicating myself to doing something that I love, being wholeheartedly involved and committed to it, like being a professional fighter, which takes up your whole day and your whole month and your whole year and your whole life, and then going in and putting it into action. So it's a combination of self-belief, self-respect, hard work, and thinking big.
So I watched the interview immediately following your fight, and the first thing you said was man, I just had so much fun. I know that you always talk about that's what it's about for you, right? That's why you came back.
Yeah, 100%. There's a lot of things that push me to do it. Of course, the sport is always growing, and a little bit of FOMO I talked about before, where you're seeing ESPN be involved, money getting better, and you're seeing guys on your team that you feel like could be doing more, and you want to lead by example, and then having the baby to make proud, and then just the fact that it sounds like a lot of fun. And so all those things together, I was just trying to think of all the checks of why I should, and I couldn't think of any checks of why I shouldn't, and so that's how I made the decision.
So you mentioned your child. You kind of recently just became a father. Has that changed you at all?
I don't think it's changed me. I've always envisioned being a father and having a beautiful family and healthy family. That was one of my big goals, is having a healthy and happy family. So stepping in that direction has been great. I've never had issues getting motivated, but it does step things up a little bit as far as a purpose. The purpose before, you can find all sorts of reasons of why you want to have success, for the money or the materialistic things or the self, doing it for yourself or making your family proud. But having somebody that is really part of you, that is depending on you and is looking up towards you is cool. So it doesn't change me necessarily as an individual, but it's given me a different type of motivation.
You said that you want a son too. If either one of them came to you and said they wanted to become a fighter, how would you react to that?
I'd be fine with it. I wouldn't want that for either of my kids necessarily, because it's not something that I want to push them into. It's not the easiest way to make a buck, I guess is the way I'd say. It just takes an individual that really wants it for themselves. So if they wanted to do it themselves, I'd be okay and I'd be supportive to the utmost, but I wouldn't push it on them.
I was looking at your Instagram. I saw that you wrote a book for Cali.
Yeah. Can
you kind of talk about that and what inspired it?
As soon as I found out I was having a girl, I was a human development major in college, and just understand how people are introspective and how people are developed from their influences, and how important manifesting and visualization and all that. So I immediately, literally the day I found out I was having a girl, it took me 45 minutes, just wrote out a stanza of a couple different stanzas of things that I would want in a woman that is my daughter, and then just ran with it. And so 45 minutes later, I had a full book with illustrations that I wanted to be done, and I'm gonna read it to her and brainwash her when she gets
just ingrained
old enough
into her
to comprehend. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the thing that just fascinates me about you is how drastically I think you separate your fighting life from just your personal life. Mm-hmm. So that's really interesting to me. And another aspect of that is the entrepreneurship that you've kind of took on. You've kind of built an empire, really. How did you get into that sort of business mindset?
I think step one is just a fearlessness, the same reason why I'm a fighter. entrepreneurship is the same kind of mentality. Like, you can't be afraid of failure. You got to know it's going to be a hard road. And people always want to give me credit for being a businessman or whatever, but that doesn't mean you have a ton of cash. That means you have a ton of responsibilities, and you're building a pipeline to have a ton of cash as long as everything goes smoothly and the things keep running. So it is a tough way to go about life, being somebody that makes their own path, but it started out with seeing a need, filling a need as a fighter. I started out, my first business was TLC, top of the line coaching. I was making $7,000 a year as a wrestling coach at UC Davis, and then we were running wrestling camps. I was coaching kids, so I started a little business doing that called Top of the Line Coaching TLC, and that turned into my next thing, which was Alpha Male. I liked the name Alpha Male, learned what it meant. Started making clothing, Alpha Male clothing, and that was in 2003, 2004 after my first fight. Then I opened my gym in 2005, 2006, and all that stuff was just stuff that I was passionate about, stuff I was already doing, and then found a way to make it happen.
So it's kind of like, people would say, find what you love and then find a way to make money doing that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was one of those guys that the clothing line, Alpha Male Clothing, which turned into the team, and now is a clothing line in addition to the team, in addition to a bunch of other stuff. I was literally scratching by as a wrestling coach at UC Davis, and then I started fighting, which I was making a couple $100 per fight. Then I started selling t-shirts to make more money to allow myself to fight full time. And I was busting tables, and I was coaching kids, and I was doing all this stuff. So I was just trying to find ways to have fun and live my passion.
So yeah, how did you exactly get into fighting? Were you kind of always a fighter when you were in high school, or?
I came from a small town, the town of Lincoln here, where there's 700 or 7,000 people in the town, maybe 150 kids in my class, and so I only got one fight all of high school.
Did you win?
Yeah, I won. Yeah. It was a continuation guy at school. Kids that were being really rude to my mom. We had a little coffee shop that we'd opened as a family, and they were being rude to my mom, and so I had permission to fight. And that was my only fight in high school. But I've always been a guy that no one messes with, and by, I don't know if it's something that I put out or the way I carry myself or how I interact with people, but I'm a friendly guy. I don't take crap. And so I never was a fighter until I decided I wanted to be.
Cool. So it's always been pretty organized for you.
Been pretty organized.
Yeah.
I got in some fights in college, some really good fights in college actually, because you got people from all different walks with different rules, and they don't know you, and you might be able to think they can cross a line, but in my world you can't, or whatever. So I got in some good fights, especially when alcohol got introduced to a bunch of 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds,
with a lot of freedom too.
Yeah. So I had to, beat some guys up on occasion.
So I'm from Rockland, so I get the whole small town kind of thing.
Yeah.
How did you go from that to the flashing lights of Vegas and just the paparazzi and the constant media attention?
It never was like that for me. I mean, I being famous, people call it, is just how many times people have seen you. So it's not like Kato Kalin was famous. You probably don't know who that is, but he was somebody that was a witness, and O.J. Simpson killed his wife and lived in the back house. So everyone saw him on TV all the time, and all of a sudden he's famous.
Right.
So it's really about how many times people have seen your name or how familiar they are with you. They say it's 12 times for an advertisement for something to stick in your mind, 12 times that you see it. And I've been around for however many years, but 15 years in the limelight or whatever it is, but my life has been the same. I mean, I live, and you have to live in the gym, and so I've always just been humble, treat people with respect, take it as a compliment when people are excited to see me and want to take pictures, but my life stays pretty the same.
And you stayed in the same area you grew up in pretty much.
Yeah, big time.
So you always like seem now like such a happy and friendly guy. It seems like things are going pretty well for you. Was there ever a time you think of that stands out where like maybe things weren't going so well that you really had to push through?
You know, there's been quite a few, and I mean, in retrospect, you look at it, and you know, in the moment, you're just grinding through stuff and being positive, etc. But there's been some times in my life where I've had some, you know, some troubles. You know, my brother had a mental breakdown when I was a senior in high school, and that was like something that carried on for years.
Older or younger?
Older brother,
okay.
My older brother. And that was really tough. I went to school. I almost got kicked out of the dorms for just being me, you know, social guy, like had all my buddies in from high school. And so I was on like probation in college at UC Davis for like literally my whole college career. So I had to like be on pins and needles and wasn't doing anything crazy, just some write-ups and I mean some really funny. If you read my book, it's pretty funny, you know, just me being a guy that lived in the country and now I'm living in a dormitory setting with like a curfew and like people like there to tell on you if you're too loud or something, you know, that kind of stuff. It was just a change of environment. That was interesting. I've had a lot of ups and downs in my fight career, but they've all felt like ups, to be honest. I don't really, you know, get down after a loss necessarily. So, but there's been some tough times, man. Yeah, my sister got in a really bad car accident where her skull was removed for, 2 months, and she was in a coma, and you know, it was a long recovery. She's my younger sister, so that was a big deal. There's been a lot of stuff throughout time, but you just keep trucking through. Yeah. You know, staying positive and staying the course.
Not that this was maybe necessarily a down, but I know that you and TJ Dillashaw had some problems in the past. I saw an interview he did with Chael Sonnen back in June, and he looked pretty uncomfortable when Chael brought him up, and it was one of those things where I don't know, he just seemed very nervous, and he was one of those guys.
He was lying out of his teeth. I saw the interview.
Yeah, and he was one of those guys who basically said you shouldn't come back, and he was, you know, talking about the younger guys that might give you a hard time. Well, you fast forward a month later and you knock out Ricky Simone in 46 seconds, who's 14 years younger than you.
Yeah.
Like, what would you say to TJ now? Because that's like a beautiful irony almost.
You know, TJ knows about me. He knows who I am, and he knows I wasn't going to skip a beat. Yeah. You know, he was just being a little bit of a hater. And to be honest, the only beef that I have with that guy is that he bold-faced lies about how he actually left our team.
Yeah, he says you kicked him off.
And I'll show you the video after this of him explaining what really happened. But he got bought out. So at the end of the day, I retired for 2.5 years, and he has a microphone, you know, doing what he's doing, and he keeps telling the same lie about me, which is very irritating. I don't like people lying about me, you know. So that's the only qualm I really have with that guy. Everything else is like whatever. Yeah.
So I mean, now the whole thing came out with him and the EPOs and all that stuff. I know you did an interview with Brendan Schaub pretty recently, and you weren't willing to like go there and completely say that he was doing it prior. Cody Garbrandt, on the other hand, says that he thinks he's been doing it for like 5 or 6 years. Why are you less willing than Cody to just put him on full blast?
Well, first off, it sounds like him and Cody had some conversations about it, and
privately.
From what's gone on, like Cody said that TJ was trying to show people on the team how to do stuff and things like that, and no one ever showed me how to do anything. Mm-hmm. So it's not my place, and I'm not just I don't want to go be like I heard something and so this is what it is, even though it's very concrete, like the things have told me, and I trust the people who have told me everything else. It's just not my place, and it's just like there's kind of like a code to it. Like I'm not gonna be out and be like, you know, be someone telling people's business, and especially when it hasn't been told from him to me. Mm-hmm. Now, other people have caught things and other people know things. That's on them to tell it. I just know that it bothers me, and I wasn't surprised when he got caught.
Mm-hmm. So I know initially he kind of denied the allegations and everything, but now
he did.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I don't. When something's irritating to me, I don't go look it up.
You just ignore it. Well, so now he completely acknowledges it, says he cheated. What do you think of the way he handled it, and do you have any sympathy for him, knowing because how hard it is to cut weight? That was the reason he cited. Just knowing the strain on the body, is there any sympathy from a guy who's clean?
I mean, first off, I know from what people have told me way too much to buy into his crap, and I know him too well. The sympathy, I feel sorry for his family because he puts his family through a lot of this stuff, and I like his family, you know, and so you know, I mean the sympathy. No, I mean TJ doesn't really care about. He's just gonna get his money. He can come back and fight again, and he'll try to find another way to do whatever he's gonna do. So I don't really have sympathy for it. No, and he's great at lying. He's a liar, which is part of cheating. You cheat, you lie, you steal. He stole from the people that aren't cheating, like myself. So.
And you said even like you think he's a pathological liar, right? Like he even believes the lies he's telling.
I don't know if he's a pathological liar. I'm not sure how that works. I have to look at the definition, but it's really strange to me when I have a 4-minute video of him explaining one thing,
right,
and then like going over and over and over again saying something else. That seems a little pathological, but I don't know if he's a pathological liar per se. Just maybe just get really good at it.
Yeah. So you know, suspension for 2 years. He comes back. You're back now. You said you wanted the fight. Is it like how excited would you be for it?
Depends what the pay is. Depends what the scenario is. I mean, I'll be 41 and a half at the time, who's not doing any PEDs. So we'll see how I feel at that point. I mean, I think some things need to happen for that fight to happen in a bunch of different ways, and so we'll see how that plays out. But you know, him doing a little like confession of what we've really been doing would be nice. To you know, I know Henry Cejudo said he's not going to ever fight him again, and I bet you other people will have the same sentiment. You're gonna have to pay a bunch of money, or he's gonna have to do a confession like Oprah and you know, Lance Armstrong, like explain your process. You know, people don't care about TJ as much as they care about Lance Armstrong, but yeah, put it out there, and then I'll let you can do all the PEDs, and we'll fight.
Okay. Well, you brought up Henry Cejudo, so I think that's a good transition. I want you to get a shot. What do you think about it?
It's a great matchup. He called me out. I answered the call. You know, I don't know why it wouldn't happen at this point. If he called me out, I said, yeah, let's do it. I came off a big win. He came off a big win. I think it's a good matchup. So
what would stop it from happening?
I don't know. If he changes his mind and says he doesn't want to fight now after he already called out, that'd be weird. I don't know. Nothing.
So you were inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame in 2017. With this recent win, you became the first fighter to win a UFC bout after being inducted in the Hall of Fame.
Really?
Yeah. You're the first
BJ hasn't won a fight.
Right.
Okay.
So what did that whole thing like mean to you to get into the Hall of Fame, and what do you think the criteria should be?
Man, it was really cool. I you know, you never take time to smell the roses when you're in the process of doing things. At least I don't. I'm like just grinding. So to get recognized was cool. To come out and be like, man, I've accomplished a lot in this sport. And then even not watching my fights, when in preparation for this last fight, I went back and watched some of my fights, and I'm like, you know, like, damn, I was really good. You know, by everybody. So it was really cool to come back. I didn't really feel like, you know, I was ever gone per se, as far as the standpoint of getting out of shape or staying out of the gym. It wasn't like I was off on the beach, you know, under an umbrella sipping drinks. I was in the gym, mentoring guys, training because I love it. And so it wasn't too far of a jump for me to get back in.
So I want to go into some rapid fire questions here just to kind of finish up.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on bare knuckle boxing, and should there be a line anywhere in fighting sports?
You know, I think when there's consent, it should be okay. You know, it's the same thing with a lot of things. So if people are consenting to it and they were doing it on their own free will, signing the waiver, go for it. Like, if somebody wants to fight to the death, go for it.
Just build the Coliseum again.
I mean,
Gladiator
yeah.
days.
Well, I mean, for as far as I'm concerned, if there's real consent, the muddy line gets drawn when you know, when you don't know people's motivation. What you don't want to see is people that are drug addicts or
right.
you know, in dire situations, they're doing things because they have to. That's not good. But as long as the competitive nature's there, which is hard to regulate, I think, you know, sky's the limit.
Being a veteran in the sport, how has it changed throughout your career?
The sport has just changed, every way, shape, or form. There's more money, more exposure, more rules, more participants, better techniques. Blending of the sports is getting better. The coverage is better with media and the awareness with people around the globe, the global awareness. Everything's changed.
Do you have a favorite fight in your career?
I think all my favorite fights were probably in Sacramento. Jens Pulver was one for sure. I love that fight. The first one. I loved fighting Michael McDonald here in Sacramento. Even Mike Brown, when I broke my hands and lost, that was a good fight here in Sacramento. And then my retirement and my return from retirement. Those are all good fights.
Yeah, I bet that was a cool moment. One person in history you wouldn't want to fight, any time period.
One person I would not want to fight any time period. Jeez. Jesus.
You wouldn't want to fight Jesus?
No.
Yeah, I think I feel you on that one.
Yeah. Jesus had something special going on. You got everybody believing in him.
What would you be if not a professional fighter?
If I was not a professional fighter, I would probably have taken a path into restauranteering. Like I would have started some sort of restaurant, which is also a very hard business, and probably would have wished I never did because what I hear, the restaurant business is a tough business. But some sort of business, some sort of mentoring. I probably would be like probably a teacher and some sort of entrepreneur mixed together, doing a lot of things because I like to stay busy.
So kind of what you're doing now.
Yeah, what I'm doing now, yeah. Same shit.
Cool.
Yeah.
What motivates you? I know like you talked a little bit about your daughter, but you said you never really had problems. What is that?
My motivation comes from, and I've broken this down because I get this question a lot, from one thing, and it's being able to live the lifestyle that I want. I can only imagine, this is what my book is about also, is being able to follow your passion. How crappy would life be if you have to do a bunch of stuff you don't want to do to spend a tiny little time doing things that you do want to do? So my whole motivation has always been to live my dream life, and I feel like I'm doing it.
As a fan, what's your favorite weight class to watch?
As a fan, it just depends. There's always good hype, when it's more about the star. Like when Conor popped up, love watching that weight class. When Floyd is talking, on top of his game, that's fun to watch. When Chael Sonnen and Anderson Silva, that was an exciting time. Chuck Liddell, it just kind of depends. Like I think, there's that it factor. So whatever weight class has the it factor, and it changes.
Yeah, absolutely. Last question. Where is the fountain of youth? Because you obviously have found it.
My secret to looking maybe a little bit younger than I am is, I think partially what I talked about prior is following your passion. Living around things that you love to do has been a big relief for me, and something that's allowed me to keep a young spirit, I feel like. I've lived a healthy life, not so strict that I don't eat ice cream or eat nachos or garlic fries on occasion, but in general I have just a really healthy lifestyle, and that's from the get-go. And then the last part is probably a little bit of luck of the draw. Genetics are no joke, and if you look around, I've seen people that look old that are young and young that are old, and a combination of everything is probably part of that answer.
Cool. Well, let's give you an opportunity for some plugs. You talked about your book. What else you got going on?
Man, I've got a lot of stuff. We just relaunched Alpha Male Clothing, shopalphamale.com. We're just about to promote this Kinetic event, which is a grappling event, and we're doing it in Anaheim, August 16th. The first of its kind, here in the U.S. with 5-man teams in the tournament. We also are about to do a virtual training, so affiliate with Team Alpha Male, Team Alpha BJJ, Team Alpha MMA. We're going to have an online course and the ability to do affiliate programs. So that's exciting. And then we have our Pulse Fitness in here in Uriah Faber's Ultimate Fitness, which is a really cool, like, high intensity, heart rate monitored, boxing based workout. So I'm looking to grow that. Absolutely.
Cool. Well, good luck with everything. And once again, like, thanks for the time, man.
You got it. Thank you. Good luck to you, man.
Thank you.